Hello and welcome back to SparkleDart, everybody. I'm back at SparkleDart. Okay, so do you know anything about music? Oh, we're talking about Playboys. We're going to talk about that one real quick. Okay, so recently Playboy announced that they was going to stop publishing nudity in their magazines, like it wasn't the only reason that people was watching their or subscribing to their magazines and having a good time doing that thing. So I found this real interesting, actually, because it's like, I mean, if it just comes down to brass tacks, all you're doing is you got the articles on the Playboy magazine, and it could make for good reading, like if you're reading things about like Jay Leno or George Carlin or other sorts of comedy guys, then, you know, maybe it's an interesting thing to do. Maybe it's more interesting than you might think. Like, they got that new show, The Muppet Show. It's like, you remember the Muppets? Well, now they're back, and they got their own late-night talk show with starring Miss Piggy and Kermit and Gonzo the Great, but not like the Sesame Street Muppets. Yeah, they were Muppets. They were made by Jim Henson, and I believe any puppet that was made by Jim Henson was considered to be a Muppet. Now, I don't know exactly what the word Muppet means. I think it might mean like a combination of the word mop and puppet, but I think that might be just something that I heard one time on the Simpson program, which is a good program, actually, if you don't mind people being yellow, but if that's too much of a thing for you, then I wouldn't recommend watching it. It is a little bit much, I gotta say. I wouldn't, it's not for everybody. It's very like polarizing. It's like, well, I don't understand why they would change like human anatomy so much so in such a way that like I couldn't ever possibly see this in real life and make any sense of it. But if you wanted to be more jokey about the way you chose to talk about things, I guess you could say that it'd be like a show about the Japanese people, because they say when you got the yellow fever. I guess it could also be Chinese, but maybe not so much. Now, what are these guys doing? Okay. I'm just having fun. Okay, so if you're watching The Simpsons, being like, why are these, oh, I messed up. Okay, well, I guess I'll start over again. Like, that was such a big hassle for me to do that the first time. I guess I'll do the whole thing again, and it will be fine. So you're watching The Simpsons, and you're like, why are these people yellow? I don't understand that. And then they'll be like, well, they're yellow because that's just the stylistic choice. Like, if you ever watch, going back on the Muppets even, like, why are these characters frogs and pigs and gonzos? You're like, I don't know, I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it doesn't make any sense to anybody that I've ever known before. And it'll just be like, well, that's fantastic, and it's your opinion that you would think something like that. And I'm like, that's good for you to think that. It means that you're thinking, and that you understand your like your society and how these things don't make sense to you, because, well, that was unfortunate. Okay, well, that was not what I intended. But I'm not too upset about that, Mr. Boris. You know Boris, because you watched Goldeneye, the movie starring Pierce Brosnan, and the other guy, Sean Bean. He was a good character. Alec Trevelyan, if you ever saw the movie, it was a James Bond movie. Now, everybody likes the James Bond. You know why I like the James Bond? My favorite one was Casino Royale. Missing a keycard, I guess. That's something I gotta go find real quick. Oh, I know what that was. I remember what that was. I just picked it up right now. See, I told you. I'm real smart about what I do. So anyways, James Bond is a film franchise that was based off of a series of novels by an author whose name I do not recall and would never be able to recall if you asked me to. So please don't ask me to. You can look that up on IMDb, or you can look that up on the Wikipedia, and I'm sure there's even a James Bond Wikipedia too. And if I had to take a guess at what it was called, I'd guess it was just called the James Bond Wiki. Because sometimes they're not so creative with their wiki names, but sometimes they can be. They can be creative sometimes. So if you find one like a wiki for Hey Arnold, it's just called the Hey Arnold Wiki. It's like, well, that's great. You know what? Actually, I had to go on the Hey Arnold Wiki one time because I forgot one of the characters' names, and I figured the most useful source of information for the show Hey Arnold would be the Hey Arnold Wiki, right? So I went on there and I found out that the character's name It was the one who used to stalk Helga all the time, you know? And I'm like, that like creepy like Bart Simpson looking dude who would like breathe through his nose like... I went on there and I found out that that character's name was Brainy. I guess implying that he's some sort of nerd, but he didn't appear to be very smart. He just appeared to be a weird creep. Now, that show was actually very problematic for me because that show implied that that just the fact that you're like dorky, even if you're not smart, it means that you're a nerd and that you should be chastised and berated and hated on. Because everybody in the Arnold show hated on Brainy, especially the Helgas and the Arnolds and the Stinkies. And you know what? I think that that was totally inappropriate. It was totes inappropriate, and I think that they should make a statement about that show. I guess apologizing for what they did. They ruined a lot of people's lives, I bet, with that show. Even though it had some good episodes, it had some good moments, some good solid moments, like the one with the Stoop guy or the Pigeon Man, or the one where they go and find out that Mr. Huyn's daughter was like a Vietnamese child, and Mr. Huyn had to go to the U.S. and he was all like, "I'm Mr. Huyn, and I'm gonna go and I'm going to do this thing, and we're not gonna see each other for like 15 years, and it's gonna be kind of awful because I mean, you're my daughter, and I like to see you and hang out with you, and we can go ice skating or ice fishing or really anything that has to do with ice except for like that drug." The ice drug. We won't be doing that because drugs are bad for you, and they're not good for your body and your bones and your health and even your toes and your head and your shoulders and your knees. Just don't do drugs, and then we won't have any problems at all. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. I feel like that should just be common sense, and if that's not common sense to you at this point in your life, then you clearly didn't pass. You didn't graduate from there. You know, you made a mockery of you made a call and mockery of yourself, and people don't respect you anymore. And I guess that's just whatever. That's whatever. But like, just you got to be smart about what you do. If you're not smart about what you do, and you're just being an irrational lunatic who doesn't understand how to operate in like daily to daily circumstances without the use of some sort of mind-altering substance, be it alcohol or cigarettes, which nicotine is like a mind-altering thing. It's not like it's a thing that people normally did back in the day, back in antiquity, back when it was okay to do these sorts of things without going to like jail or whatever. It was a little more reasonable back then, and not to say that they were in the right or anything like that, but I'm just more along the lines saying that it seemed less like they were concerned about how to operate day to day, and more concerned about building a society for themselves where they could live and where they could prosper, and just have a generally a good time, and just be real people. That's all you gotta do, is you gotta be a real person. You gotta be a person who people respect and like and don't look at like you're some sort of plague victim. Even if maybe you are, that's not like that's a bad thing. But the thing is, I mean, the plague was a thing that wiped out like 1/3 of all humanity back when it was a thing, back in the Europe in I believe it was the 1600s, the 1500s, when the plague was going around and rats were going on their bubonic sprees on the boats, and the going to Athens and Crete and Michigan, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't remember. You're asking you really just threw a grenade, huh? Okay, well that's fine. So, I mean, rats, they've been a huge burden all throughout all of like modern like society. The rats have been in our homes and in our cars and in our freighters and in our juice boxes and even in cans of Mountain Dew sometimes. Now here's the funny thing. Some guy said that he found a can of rat in his Mountain Dew, and he's like, I'm gonna sue PepsiCo, which is the company that owns Mountain Dews, because of the rat that I found. I'm gonna sue them for a large sum of money, and I hope I can get that settlement paid off, because I would like to have that money without having to actually work for it or nothing like that. Okay, that was asinine, I guess. Okay. Come, get out of my way, you fucker. Okay. Okay, well, I'm a little bit confused about what that was all about. Oh, my God. Okay, so, avoid rats, that's all I'm going to tell you. Just avoid rats, you know, they look gross, they are gross. And generally just, you know, be hygienic. You know, you got to clean up your house. If there's, like, food containers laying on the ground, like pizza boxes or jars of mayonnaise and stuff, like, pick them up. Just don't let them sit out. That's weird. That's gross that you would do that. That's so... that is also totes inappropriate. Now, going back on what I was saying earlier, there was like man he was trying to sue PepsiCo for saying he found a rat in his can of Mountain Dew, and they responded by saying, you know, you can never find a rat like that in your Mountain Dew because actually, if you weren't so certain of this at the time, the acidity of Mountain Dew would dissolve an entire rat within 45 days, and if you look at the can of the Mountain Dew, you can like figure out when that can was bottled, and that can in particular was bottled over 45 days in advance. So it's like the rat would have dissolved completely by that point, and it's like, well, that's disgusting because that means, of course, that the Pepsi is aware of the acidity of the product and how awful it is for biological organisms, ones that are alive with living, breathing arteries and veins and pumping blood and pumping iron, and going to the gym and getting completely swole. And because of that, it's like, what are you doing? You know, you got to be smart about what you're doing, and if you're not, then you're going to find rats in your Mountain Dew. Now, we're going to come back again soon for more SparkleDart, and I hope you join me because I want to talk more about rats inside of cans. I feel like there's a lot of room for discussion there, and I would like to bring that back. So please come back again soon, and I will see you later. Goodbye. Mwah.